Welcome back, everybody. Another week, another chaotic series of events that we're all
Absolutely.
able to witness. Never thought it'd be this crazy. Anyways, two brothers off script here again. I'm Ryan,
I'm Jerry.
and if you're joining us for information, we don't know anything. We're just opinionated people who have busy lives, and when able, we try to get some information uh, from the internet, I guess, to give back to the internet. So we're just all kind of contributing to the problem, I guess. But you've got crazy people in this world, and it's, you have to deal with it. So how do you do it without, I don't know, just seeming like you're on the wrong side of the argument?
Well, I think that's a big challenge because if you have you say you have certain beliefs, it feels like it's very easy right now to get lumped into categories with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes away from the reality that everyone has enough individuality in them to be in favor of certain things and not in favor of other things, and
Also to be responsible for
and
their
to be
individual choices.
and to be responsible for their individual choices. And so, if on the news they come out and they say, everyone who believes this thing also believes these five other things, it's just it's not the right way to go. So obviously, the big events related to the riots and marches in Boston and Charlotte, North Carolina, and the car crash, where a person who promoted Nazi values,
Right.
were purported, was responsible. And one of the things I thought that was interesting was about this situation was after that, then there became an increased call for removal of statues and flags and stuff like that.
If we take down one, we got to take them all down.
And
It doesn't solve the overall problem,
it
though.
doesn't solve that problem, and it also doesn't really address like the history.
Right.
Because if somebody from, one part of the country says something's offensive, and they, go to wherever it is and they demolish it, that doesn't mean that the person who lived next to it found it offensive.
Right.
And it almost seems like you could go anywhere in history and you could say, something's offensive, right? The pyramids were created by slaves, and I'm not defending slavery.
Tear down the pyramids.
Julius Caesar murdered lots and lots of people, right? Should we destroy all of the the Roman legions were the most feared army in the entire world. Should we destroy all their statues in history? Alexander the Great conquered, Napoleon conquered, the British Empire conquered,
And they all did it with
destroyed
force
and
destruction and
destroyed and enslaved, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And as you go through history, you see this pattern of, people with power controlling people without power through all kinds of mechanisms: debt, slavery, disease, threats, violence, armies, soldiers, whatever. But it still wasn't right. And so now we come to this point today where we've decided that the Civil War was somehow different to our society, and that these things that exist should be destroyed. There's monuments to generals, to famous generals all throughout the American history, and some of those generals destroyed and killed, Native American peoples, or invaded portions of Mexico, or we fought a war against Mexico, right? Like, these are real things that happened, and people really died, and to just say, well, I find it offensive now, or 10 of us find it offensive, or 1,000 of us find it offensive, or 10,000 of us find it offensive.
We got slave owners on our money.
And so we're going to go. I saw one guy on Facebook said, hey, just send me all of your $1, $20, and $100 bills, and I'll help get rid of them, because you don't want to have possession of that money that's got those people on it. So that's a lighthearted way to say, to try to be pithy and funny and have people not respond to the issues. But, it just doesn't seem like the mob should be in control of the decisions that get made.
Because they're not the majority either.
Well, it wouldn't even matter. Like, if they were the majority and they passed a ballot measure and they said, we want to take down a statue, or we want to rename something, or whatever that's on public land, sure.
Yep. Right?
That's that's the process of law. But when you have a mob running through the streets, rioting, destroying things that they come up, it's almost like crazy. I just watched a Looney Tunes cartoon where, the termite army is coming and they march all the way around Bugs Bunny and, destroy his home. Yeah. And you're like, why is that okay for us to have a mob stomping through a street, any mob, right? And destroying things. And at the same time, and I really like this, so there's this speech out that Arnold Schwarzenegger made, this little video on YouTube we watched right before we started shooting. And the guy says, look, if you're standing next to somebody and they got a Nazi flag, don't freaking stay there.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys are celebrating losers of history. If somebody's got a Confederate flag and they're holding it and waving it up around, and you don't believe in the Confederacy, then leave.
You can believe that the Confederacy was a bad idea and a failed movement to keep slavery, but there's a lot more factors and the reason that we went to war, Civil War. But the fact of the matter is these things did happen, and what's happening now is no better, especially the people who react so violently to. As much as I don't like a lot of the people that I see on a day-to-day basis in the street, because I think that they dress funny, or their attitude, they play loud music as they drive through my neighborhood and stuff like that, but I wouldn't go to their house and smash their car and steal the things that they own because I don't like how they carry themselves. I would write a letter, or I would leave a note or something like that just details why this person is making bad choices. But there's nothing in me that says that I would take a violent choice to that to solve that problem. There's no reason for violence when violence hasn't been given. I defend myself, but I wouldn't punch somebody first.
It's wrong for someone to go out and, to me, in the name of free speech, and proclaim the right to hate. To me, that's wrong. I don't like it if the Westboro Baptist Church does it.
Nope.
When they're screaming at service members at their funerals. I don't like it if the Nazis or the guys celebrating the Confederacy do it. I don't like it if people who claim to be anarchists and socialists are screaming at someone who believes that a baby is life, right? And doesn't feel like there should be abortion. Like, to whatever the people's political beliefs, like, that doesn't mean you should hate the other person. You can have a conversation with a person that you can disagree with a policy on.
But you have the rights.
Yeah.
That's what one of the issues is that you don't have a right to do these things, or you do have the right to do it, but you're not going to be allowed to do it anyways. Like, if they had protested, you've got 24 hours, they come in, they get loud, they scream a bunch of nasty stuff. They got screamed from both sides, lots of nasty.
And people were carrying bats, and
they came armed.
Swords, and it was just nuts, right? So to me, that's where there's a mistake in that that's where the police should remain in control of law.
Peacefully protesting.
Yeah, peacefully protesting. If you peacefully protest and you've got body gear on and body armor, some of these guys are wearing, you know, helmets and bulletproof vests, and they've got knives and sticks, and I mean, that's all it took to have
Come ready for a fight.
That's all it took to have an army 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was an army. So to say that we're going to allow this army to march through our street and they're going to be armed is, to me, is unwise. Whoever it is, whatever group it is, it's unwise to be having a mob run through the streets destroying stuff. And if the mob says, well, I don't like that Starbucks, or I don't like that statue, or I don't like that bridge, or I don't like the name of that high school, so we're just going to destroy everything,
Yep.
That's crazy.
You can't change the history. We have to learn from it. There's got to be a reason. Like, you can turn the statue of a negative individual into a symbol of what not to do again, but by just ripping them down.
Well, that's where, I mean, that's what they
What
do.
do you put in place? And
That's what they did, you know, when Saddam fell,
Yeah.
right? Or when Pol Pot fell in Cambodia, or, you know, in all of these, like when the Shah left Iran. This is the kind of mob in the streets, we're going to burn, loot, and destroy things kind of mentality that is absolutely should not be allowed in the United States. And if you want to change what's in the public square or on somebody's private land, then you pass a law and then you enforce the law. People don't have to agree with law, people have to vote.
Yep.
Right? We did that episode, right? So there's certainly laws I don't agree with, but I vote and I do my best to participate. And I'm not going to get my way 100% of the time. That's why it's a society. If I got my way 100% of the time, it'd be a dictatorship.
right, hang Saddam.
So, super complicated issue. I've talked about it on the channel before. You know, I have children that are biologically mine and adopted. I have children of all kinds of different colors. And I have had to talk with them about how, or certainly they've heard on the radio as well, I've been driving, you know, this description of, you know, these people are racist or those people are racist. And we've had to start to have some conversations about that. And it's okay for me to have those conversations with my kid. I don't expect them to be sheltered forever, but I really feel like to have civil discourse means that you don't lump everybody together and you treat people with respect.
Yeah. If you want to find out what my opinions are, ask me.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you. All right, guys. Another difficult one. So much to think about, but we're just going to keep talking about whatever's happening. So thanks for checking us out. Give us a like if you like it. Thumbs down if you didn't. And just leave a comment. You know, put your voice in it too, and then all together we can say something loud enough. All right. Thanks for watching.
Have a great week. Bye.